PlayStation 3 is out tonight, midnight.
PlayStation 3.
PS3, of course.
Man, I've been here since Tuesday.
I've been waiting.
Cultural phenomenon than any other video game in the world.
I don't know, so many people care on Halo Nation is huge.
Oh, you know.
Anyways, I got Grand Theft Auto 5. I'm gonna be playing, dude. I don't even know what time it is. But when are you going to sleep tonight?
Sleep? I ain't going to sleep tonight.
All right, everybody, we got 15 seconds here. We want to get a countdown. Let's go. Let's go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
PlayStation responds, but doesn't respond in the way you may think. I think, yeah, we're here. We're here with it, y'all. We're here. And to be honest, I think preserving a lot of your games, whether you do emulators, physical media, whatever, have fun with the way you have your games and the way you purchase your games. Man, this just sucks, man. I feel like this year it has been such a blessing to finally feel like it's been worth having an Xbox or a PS5. Even Nintendo Switch, because they've been putting out so many games on the Switch too. However, it just felt like finally we have gotten the games and the quality of games that was worth how much we've paid for our consoles in the past. PC gaming has always been more in the safe space because outside of the main library of games, they've had a huge market of video games that people can play. And all these indie games be going crazy on Steam, on Twitch, and all these other platforms. But man, it just feels like you get blindsided with all this news. And pretty much what we're going to talk about today is that PlayStation responds in a way, and we get this news from Jason Schreier, who is a technology reporter for the Bloomberg. I think they have like their own article site. He is also very big in the gaming journalist space. He's one of the more credible people. His YouTube channel, I love it so much. His thumbnails, I know if you look at his thumbnails, you're like, huh? But like, it just gives me nostalgia for 2008. But not only that, because he speaks in so much volume, the quality of what he does. I think he's also an author bestseller. He is one of the people that you should definitely take into consideration when they talk about gaming news and other stuff and what they hear and what they know about the industry. And he has basically put out a video talking about the whole Sony PlayStation ordeal, as well as putting out a post breaking down everything. But I am on Twitter and I'm looking at the Rhino Bouncer, who is also a gaming news kind of person, enthusiast, and they basically bullet pointed everything that Jason Schreier put out. And it's upsetting. It's gut wrenching. And to say the least, like, we've invested so much time, and I know all the people who only collect digital, they're going to feel like, oh, well, I only been buying digital. It's actually bigger than that. It's worse than that. And I'll explain why. Let me know right now, as you guys are watching this, it's 2 minutes in. You guys tell me right now. I would love to have you guys pause the video after I ask this question and pop it in the motherfucking comment section below. Look, what's worse or what's better? If PlayStation made these changes while being in a positive trajectory, dropping factions to dropping their games much more quicker. They've had Naughty Dog dropping their games much more quicker because we still haven't seen anything on their side. Intergalactic, like, where is that? Having God of War, something, just more libraries of games coming from their end, and things were looking all glam and positive. And then they dropped this news, and it seemed like in support of this news, they try to give you guys better incentives, right? It seemed like, okay, it sucks, man, no more physical media. What are you guys doing? But man, they're giving us so much quality, right? You would think they're giving us so much. They even said, hey, we're going to give you guys 6 months of free PS Plus, of PS Plus Extra, because this is just the decision that we're trying to go towards. We feel like, you know what, you shouldn't pay to play online. Now that we're doing this is something that we're going to give you guys as an incentive. But if you do decide to pay for our subscription services, you get all the bells and whistles of like discounts on our games and all that other stuff, right? Like, imagine a perfect world like that. I then won't argue with the digital only gamers or people out there, because I feel like, well, look at what Sony's willing to do, because they understand they're changing their path of video games, and the industry is going to get changed regardless. Or PlayStation's bleeding money. Xbox and PlayStation barely makes any money profit off of their console sales, so they look for their digital sales to make them more money. And pretty much PlayStation lost out on $3.9 billion after buying Bungie, because they're no longer worth that much. They lost $750 million off of Destiny 2 and Marathon alone. Concord, which cost up to $500 million in development and marketing, they lost that. Basically, Jim Ryan screwed them over because they had 7 games, 6 or 7 games that were all live service. They bleed money on that end. They only have the Horizon Zero Dawn live service game coming out. The God of War and the other ones, they've been canceled. They're bummed out. They're dog shit and they're gone. They're no longer coming out. Sony is dealing with all that. So you know they're in the negatives in terms of them bleeding money. It's not a positive trajectory. And then they tell you no more physical games. And now you know they're going to spin the block a few times and pretty much lay out a plan of, oh, well, this is the way we're going. And we're going to only charge you guys like digital for this. They're also allegedly doing a monopoly in their store. Which one sounds better, y'all? Which one sounds better? First one or the second one? The second one is what we're going through. So when you see the digital only guys saying, oh, it don't matter. I mean, I've been supporting digital for 10 years. I haven't bought a physical game in so long. That's not the point. We're not seeing a positive landscape of things. We're not seeing the luxury of us paying $600-700 for a console. You're not getting that luxury back. That's like going to Atlantic City, getting the best hotels. You spend so much money on the best hotels that got no AC in it. You spent all this money on the Hard Rock cafes and the 5-star hotels, but there's no free food. You don't get like guest service or nothing like that. Bed sheets is ass. I'm that basically. So you just say, nah, I don't care though. It's all good because I'm in the highest room and I can see the overview. No, you're not getting what you're paying for. And the options are very limited now. You can't trade games. And honestly, the utter disrespect for the kids, man. Yo, man, everybody who said, man, who can care about physical, what's up with the kids? Y'all was once kids.
PlayStation 3 is out tonight, midnight.
PlayStation 3. PS3, of course.
Man, I've been here since Tuesday.
I've been waiting.
Cultural phenomenon than any other video game in the world.
I don't know, so many people care on Halo Nation is huge.
Oh, you know.
Anyways, Grand Theft Auto 5, I'm gonna be playing, dude. I don't even know what time. When are you going to sleep tonight?
Sleep? I ain't going to sleep tonight.
All right, everybody, we got 15 seconds here. We want to get a countdown. Let's go. Let's go. 10. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What happened when you want these kids to open up all these games on Christmas? Despite the fact that these kids definitely love digital games, they'd be like, Mom, my iPad and everything. I get it. But whatever happened to like bringing your kids to the store and introducing them, you know, what pops used to do? Like, aren't some of you guys in there moms and pops too, or brothers and sisters? Like, whatever happened to that, man? Midnight releases, you want them to experience what you experience. Some people are very entitled and selfish, and it just completely blows my mind. Let's get to the topic though. Jason Schreier basically broke down everything. I have the tweet here from the Rhino the Bouncer. It's not looking good. Let me actually open it up again because I think I just lost it. And this is pretty much the layout and what Sony said and what Sony is doing. Now, before we talk about these points I'm gonna have on the screen here, man, the whole point of escapism is gone because it comes at a cost, okay? It comes at an extreme cost. Let's go ahead and read this here. Report, Jason Schreier on PlayStation's decision to end physical game media. This is the first bullet point. We might break down some of what these means because some of these I did talk about in my previous video, but Jason Schreier reporting it is more of a confirmation. Sony considers their digital player base is large enough to do without those who continue wanting physical discs. Let me just also say that the CEO, and this is on the fly. Look, I'm not perfect. This is on the fly. CEO of, okay, let me just break down this. CEO of Sony, President, Chief Executive of Sony Group Corporation, Hiroki Totoki, okay? He just sold more than half his shares at PlayStation. Do you understand what that means? You know what that means? I haven't done a sound effect in a minute. He sold 225,000 Sony shares. This don't come randomly. This is not a random post. This is not a random click. That's not a random thing. Look at what happened with Shuhei Yoshida. He got removed. Hopefully I said his name correct. One of the GOATs in the industry with Sony, and he got removed. He didn't want to listen to Jim Ryan's plans. He got demoted down to the indie scene, and when he didn't want to listen to Jim Ryan's plans, they fired him. He finally spoke out on that. What happened to Sean Layden? He said, oh, well, I was just exhausted and a little bit burnt out from the industry. No, you're burnt out from being the guy that people loved, and you were forced to almost turn into the person that people hate because you would have to voice everything else. The only last good guy, in my opinion, is like, what, Mark Cerny, who is one of the design analysts, and I forgot his title specifically, who really like introduces the console layouts and everything about that. And even him, he might be out of here soon, if not already. All right, so this is insane. So they won't change their retail distribution. They're going to keep it the way it stands. And I know why. I just said it, but look, we're going to get to this more in a second. Stores sell empty boxes with only download code. So PlayStation is looking to opt into what Nintendo does. I don't know if GTA 6 was in cahoots with this. Maybe PlayStation told GTA 6, there's no point in dropping a disc. Your cost, put everything else towards something else. We could be the middleman. Because the big thing about this is that Sony can make so much more money, first party or third party, if there's zero middleman, aka GameStop, Amazon, Walmart, Target, Best Buy. You don't have a middleman, we don't need y'all no more. Sony can make probably 15% more, making it 30%, and Rockstar can make 70% because they don't have to deal with a middleman. I'll explain more of that later. Please hear that one out too. But a box with only a code. Now, for people who collect game cases, I have a bunch of empty, no, not empty. I have a bunch of games here with blank cases in here because when you go to thrift shops and all that stuff, they might sell in bulk and they might just try to put a disc in a blank case. I'm looking to print out and kind of like recover all those because they're filled with like a bunch of cool games, but they don't have no cases. Same thing with the movies. Thrift shops oftentimes do that when they don't have anything. They just put it in there or they put it in like blank CD covers. And I want them like, no, I want to like get the actual case for it. How do you guys feel about that one too? They're convinced that over time, players will accept 100% digital gaming future. How y'all feel about that one? Sony knows y'all. Sony knows the consumer base. Sony understands and understands and understands and understands and knows that we will do whatever. We will buy anything, even if we complain, despite them losing out on millions, maybe even possibly billions of dollars because consumers spoke out on against their shitty business practices. They don't think it's necessary to maintain contact with fans. That is absolutely crazy. I don't know if that's defamatory. The way Jason Schreier worded things seemed like that as well, by the way. So this person reporting this is not trying to like give negative only on Jason Schreier and PlayStation, but Jason Schreier did allude to that. They trust the strength of their brand and the loyalty of their community, and imagine they will continue to support their digital games regardless of profitability. So they're using a tactic of we trust our fans. We know they're going to support us. We know that they understand us. I'm never going to sit here and feel like I'm a part of something. I used to feel like that with YouTube MCNs. Remember that shit? Or like you feel like you're part of a club, you're part of a football team, you're part of a chess club, you're part of a Call of Duty clan, you're part of whatever. Like you're not going to feel like you're 100% a part of any of these companies no more when other corporations and their stock market is open to the public. When people can have equal shares and purchase shares of it and there's investors, I'm never going to feel like I'm one or invited. That's some parasocial shit. But also as a fan and consumer of us growing up, being fans, we should have always felt like this is our home for gaming. If you're a fan of Xbox, you should feel like that's your place. Now you should definitely not feel like that. You should definitely feel like your seat is rented. Okay. Let me continue. It says when Sony sells a first party physical game to a retailer, this is what I'm going to now explain in deeper detail. The retailer gets around 30% of the sales price. Digital helps them keep 100. They expect to significantly increase their profit margins. This is absolutely disgraceful, etc., etc. As I mentioned before, y'all, the way it works is this, from what we've read and what we know. PlayStation gets about 15% when dealing with their physical distribution. If they're dealing with a third-party company, they get like 15%. Plus, I think the distribution they get about like 5%. I think they get like $3.50 per disc manufactured. However, the actual company gets like 30%. So the third-party studio gets like 30%. GameStop, Amazon, all of them gets like 21%. And I think the rest gets dished out to either Sony, marketing, and all these other people. When it's a first party, obviously Sony probably gets a little bit more. And I can get into more detail right now. If you are a little bit confused, let me break this down further. I'm gonna read from an article, not only just from IGN, whatever, but the breakdown is like right here. For a first party game, such as like The Last of Us, right? If it's a physical copy, Sony will keep around 60 to 65% of the money from the physical copy, with around 30% going to retailers. Okay, 20-something% to 30% is going to the retailer. 5% is also going to the manufacturing cost because it's like $3.50 per disc. All right. Meanwhile, for a physical copy of a third-party game such as Activision Call of Duty, Sony will get a licensing fee for around 15%. So instead of getting 65%, they'll only get like 15%, which is like $10. They'll only make $10 from this, okay? While the retailers and then Activision makes a little bit more of that money. However, for digital downloads, the margins are much higher. For a first-person game sold via Sony's own PlayStation store, because they are a monopoly, no other store can sell their games digital. You can only find their games on their store. That is the problem. You can only find, and it sounds cool at first when you realize they don't reduce the price. They don't give you a good deal bargain unless you have PlayStation Plus. They barely have sales unless the game is like 8 years old. That's what creates the monopoly. It says here, the company obviously keeps 100% of the revenue when it's a first-party game because they run the licensing fee. They run the cost of the manufacturing, of course. Like, they run it all. That's why they're stopping games from releasing on Steam, because they have to also give out money to Steam. They were saying they weren't making enough money on their PC versions of the games. No, they just don't want to pay Steam and companies all these fees to release their games on there too. Because remember, you got Epic Games, you got Steam, you got other, I guess, platforms that you could drop it digitally on, like GOG. And it says here, for third-party games such as Call of Duty, Sony keeps 30%. So roughly $21 they'll make for a $70 game. However, they'll make $21 instead of $10. That's a lot more money. That's double the cost. They'll make $21 out of 70 for Call of Duty. And it varies too, because just in case they have a partnership with a company, or depending on what it is, they'll at least make a minimum of $20 out of 70. That's not bad, because if it's a random game, like say Call of Duty sells 20 million the first year. I'm just projecting. We're just giving an example. $21 times that 20 million, they're making a lot of money. And then Call of Duty and Activision can make the rest, because again, it goes through Sony and them digitally. Same thing if they were doing a first party game. So you see why they're trying to remove the middleman, like GameStop and them. They don't want that extra 25 to 30% going towards them. They'll rather keep it for themselves. And that's the greed part of it. That's why there's no winning in this situation. There's really no winning in this situation. This is a very nasty practice. So everybody who bought disc drives for their game consoles and everything, Sony didn't have this plan at first, but they've lost so much money. People voiced their concerns about Concord. The game got scrapped. You got games like Marathon, which is doing horrible right now. The game company and Bungie is not even worth how much they bought it for. So they're bleeding money on that, and they invested billions of dollars into that company. And not only one game, but both their big flagship titles failed miserably. We don't even know if they're going to bring out Factions 2. But if they do, they're going to have to put mad microtransactions behind it. That game better be free. The new God of War Laufey, we don't know what's going to happen with that. But all we do know is physical discs are going to be gone in about 2 years. And they're going to still bring out physical cases. I don't know how to feel about this. Drop your comments below. This is absolutely egregious. Doesn't matter the backlash. They have voiced that they don't really care right now. And I understand why they don't care. They've been bleeding money and having to backpedal a lot of their practices. Xbox right now is standing on business because all they've ever done was trying to be more gamer-friendly, consumer-friendly, but at the cost of ruining everything they had in-house. And I'm going to be fair. I don't want to sound like a hypocrite. I completely get where Asher Sharma is basically having to remove all these employees. It sucks that the employees are affected and you just can't reduce the contracts of all these billionaires and millionaires, of course. But just the fact that you use the money you made for Minecraft to help profit Xbox is why Minecraft looks like it's in shit shambles right now. I never thought I would see today. But same thing with PlayStation. Nobody's like, people are excited for their games, but you are putting so much on their overhead for for consumers, so much overhead of a price. Who knows if you guys would hit sales, if you guys would hit sales goals for these games because of the fact that the way you're coming out with this, bro. You're not giving consumers anything they want unless it comes with like 3 different versions of a price. Drop your comments below, y'all. This is bad business, and we have some video game content dropping today, so don't worry about it. I love you guys.